Hi guys, my name is Yasser Zaroug. I'm a senior loan officer at Total Quality Lending. Today I'm going to be going over a video by a company called Reventure Consulting titled 2021 Housing Crash Warning, Zillow's 93% fire sale. Before I go into this video, I would really appreciate if you guys could like, comment, or subscribe to our channel, and that way you can keep up to date with all the videos we make.
It's a fire sale, folks. Everything must go. That's according to Zillow. They are cutting prices left and right on all of their existing home inventory to the point where in certain cities, in certain markets, Zillow has lost money on, get this folks, over 90% of all the homes they purchased. Now, of course, many of you already know that Zillow stopped buying new homes for the rest of 2021. This is something I reported on about 2 weeks ago to all of you on this YouTube channel. However, what many of you don't know is that not only has Zillow stopped buying, Zillow is trying to desperately get rid of all the homes they already own to the point where they're just cutting prices left and right, not caring how much money they lose because they just want to get rid of the homes today. This, of course, is yet another sign that America has already entered the housing crash stage. The fact that you have the largest real estate company in America cutting prices, acting like it's a crash already, you can bet that other companies and other people are going to be following suit, especially in the cities where Zillow is losing the most money. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video.
One thing that stood out to me right away with the intro is he kept saying how huge fire sale. And right away to me, what I thought about is it's not that like these homes are being sold at that amount, it's these homes are being listed at a certain amount. And just like eBay, when people are selling stuff on eBay, they list it for a very low amount, but it doesn't actually get sold at that amount. It's typically a bidding war. And that's exactly what it is with the housing market. Something can be listed at 200,000, let's say. That doesn't mean that's what it's going to sell at, especially right now with the way the market is. I'd say about 90 or so % of homes are actually going above asking price. So just because they're selling it at a low price doesn't mean that's what is really going on as far as who's buying it. So that's one thing to always keep in mind with comments like that.
Number one, just how bad is the Zillow price cuts and fire sale situation? And then number two, which cities is it impacting most? Because let me tell you folks, if Zillow is cutting prices left and right in your city, I think that means home prices are going to be going down very, very fast. This is a really important topic, guys. So without further ado, let's get into the data. We're going to start things off by looking at an article from Business Insider, folks. This just came out 2 days ago, and it's talking about how Zillow is selling hundreds of homes in places such as Atlanta, Phoenix, and Houston, and their analysis found almost 2/3 of these homes were listed for less than what Zillow paid. The article goes on to say, Zillow announced on October 17th, about 2 weeks ago, that it would stop buying homes for the remainder of 2021.
Okay, one thing really quick. So Zillow's selling hundreds of homes, right? They're saying at a lower price than what the market is at. Kind of keep in mind, Zillow is a huge billion-dollar company, right? I know realtor friends, and I have realtors that I work with who sell hundreds of homes themselves a year. So the fact that it's hundreds of homes from a company as big as Zillow kind of makes me think that it's really not as big of a deal. If it said Zillow selling all of their homes or millions of homes across the country at a discounted rate, that would maybe concern me a little bit more. But right off the bat, I'm really not too scared with just the fact that he announced that the article said hundreds of homes, you know?
And according to their chief operating officer, this was because of an operational backlog for renovations and closings, and he blamed it on a labor and supply constrained economy. And as I said 2 weeks ago, folks, I believe that this supply and labor shortage argument for why Zillow stopped buying new homes is a bunch of malarkey, because if this was truly the reason, Zillow likely would have simply scaled back their home purchases rather than eliminating their number one revenue driver as a company completely. Goes on to say, but it appears that the company is now sitting on an inventory of hundreds of homes.
Again, going back to the point I made, they're not eliminating it, they're just listing it for lower. That until these homes are actually sold, we're not gonna know the real value of how important the fact that they're getting rid of this many homes really is, you know?
It's listing for less than it paid. In 5 markets where Zillow's iBuying business has been most active, almost 64% of the Zillow-owned homes for sale were being marketed for, here's the key point, folks, marketed for less than what the company bought them for, found an insider review of Zillow's inventory on October 27. So that's absolutely wild, folks.
And then again, notice how he said what they bought them for. Who knows what they bought them for, right? It's not like he's saying they bought them for very cheap. For all we know, Zillow could have gone out, bought all these homes because they have a lot of money higher than what the market was even at the time, just because they were able to do that and outbid everyone.
The fact that about 2/3 of the homes that Zillow purchased over the last couple months, well, now they're on the market for less than what Zillow purchased them for. And to see an example of how crazy these price cuts are from Zillow, take a look at this listing in Phoenix, the northern Phoenix metro area. Here it's on the market right now for a shade under $600,000. But what you can see is that there was a price cut of $79,000 literally yesterday, October 29th. Zillow cut the price by 80 grand. And if we scroll down, we can see that Zillow purchased this property for $690,000 on September 17th. They then listed it a month later on October 16th for 1.6% less than what they purchased it for. So wait a minute, folks. Zillow bought the property and then a month later already listed it for less than what they bought it for. They didn't even go out at the same price. They already listed for less because they knew potentially that the market was turning down.
So as a loan officer, we utilize sites like Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com to get the values of the homes that we're going to do refinances on. And kind of an inside joke we always have is if you want a higher price, just go to the Zillow website because they kind of inflate the prices compared to the other sites. And then I had actually just read an article yesterday where Zillow came out and admitted that they were just guessing on these home prices, right? So again, that's something to keep in the back of your mind, where a company seems like they're just trying to cover themselves more from a mistake they made strategically rather than doing it because of a cause of what the economy is doing.
Then on October 29th, they initiated a massive $79,000, 12% price cut to get the listing now down below 600 grand. Scroll up to the Zillow estimate here. We can see the current list price of 600 grand is actually around what the Zillow estimate was for this property back in May 2021. 6 months ago almost. So not only is Zillow getting crushed on this property and likely going to have to cut the price even more, looking at the Zillow estimate suggests that the values at this part of Phoenix, or at least for this home, have already regressed to the levels of 6 months ago. The Zillow estimate has its flaws. It's not perfect, but I want you guys to think about what the Zillow estimate going down over a 6 or 7 month period is going to do to the housing market. Zillow already is seeing it before everyone else. So they're saying to themselves, oh my goodness, we need to cut the prices now of the home.
No, see, that's completely wrong, because like I was saying earlier, there's other sites where you can get the values of homes, and the fact that th're cutting it down doesn't mean that they're seeing it before anyone else. All it's saying is they're doing what everyone else is already on, because if they're cutting it down by 1%, 1.5%, and the other sites already have it listed at 1.5% lower than what they originally have it at, it's not like they're starting a trend. They're just actually realizing like, hey, we made a mistake. We're overinflating everything. Let's get to reality of what it's actually worth.
Of the homes we own in markets like Phoenix, or else it's going to be too late. Think about what's going to happen once homeowners in Phoenix start to wise up to the fact that the Zillow estimate, which they were checking every single day like was part of their stock portfolio, is now lower on their house than it was 6 months ago. What are homeowners going to start feeling and thinking when they see their Zillow estimates down over 3 months, over 6 months, over a year? They're going to start doing the same exact things that Zillow is doing. Zillow just has a head start on everyone else. If we go to another Business Insider article, which, by the way, guys, they've done some terrific reporting on this. I'm going to have links to both articles in the description. We can see here it's titled, Zillow has listed a staggering 93% of homes in Phoenix at a loss. The article goes on to say, Insider reviewed all of the homes for sale by Zillow in Phoenix as of October 27th. And out of the 224 homes, 208, or 93%, were priced below what Zillow paid. Holy smokes, everyone. Zillow is taking a loss on 93% of the homes they purchased in Phoenix. And as we saw in the example...
Again, they're not taking a loss. Yeah, you keep saying that. It's not a loss until the home's actually sold. Because just like a stock, if you could buy a stock at something and if it drops and you sell it, then you're taking a loss. But if you hold on to it and that stock ends up bouncing back up and you sell it at a higher amount, it's not technically a loss. So again, it's a little misleading.
Before making these aggressive $80,000 price cuts. What's going on here? The article goes on to say, of the Phoenix homes Insider reviewed, 37% were listed for less than the company paid for them at the outset. Let me just repeat that. Of the Phoenix homes, 37% were listed for less than what the company first paid for them at the outset. What that means is that on over 1/3 of the homes Zillow owns in Phoenix, their first relisting of it was for less than what Zillow paid. And you have to ask yourself the question, Why is Zillow doing this? Why are they buying a house for 600 grand and then immediately listing it for 570? That's essentially what that's saying. They're buying it at 600 or they're buying it at 400 and then immediately listing it for less. That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, why is Zillow immediately listing the property at a loss? Why wouldn't they at least try? Why wouldn't they at least try to list it for what they bought it for a couple weeks instead of immediately listing at a loss? And I'll tell you why, folks. It's because I believe that Zillow knows something about the US housing market that not a lot of other people, maybe outside of this channel and the viewers of this channel, know. And
so again, going back to to me, it seems like Zillow is just trying to make up for a mistake they made by buying all these homes and trying to get into this market in the first place, which isn't something they actually specialized in. If you look at what the market is actually currently doing, it's not going down. You can't really guess what it's going to do. And then also, an appraiser or an appraisal has to be done on all these homes that get sold, right? And that's going to give us the real value of what they think it's listed at. So just because Zillow drops the prices or doesn't, again, until these homes are actually sold and appraisal is done, it's not going to really let us know how major this actually is.
And that's that the housing market is taking a nosedive. And Zillow wants to offload these homes as fast as possible before the nosedive gets really, really bad. That to me is the only reasonable explanation for why the largest real estate company in America that has all of the data on the US housing market would immediately list a property at a loss. It's because they think by listing it at a loss today and hopefully selling it today, we're going to avoid a further loss, a further cut in price in the future. Now, Phoenix is not the only market where there's real pain going on for the properties that Zillow owns, where there's a real fire sale occurring. Throughout most of the Sun Belt, we're seeing just huge price cuts on Zillow homes. For instance, in Dallas, Texas, the city I just moved to, over 80% of the homes that Zillow has listed right now are listed at a loss from what they originally paid for it. In Houston, Texas, it's 63%. In Atlanta, it's also in that 60 to 65% range. And so if you're a homeowner in any of these markets, if you're looking to buy in any of these markets, this has got to force you to stop in your tracks. That not only, number one, has Zillow stopped buying homes here. Number two, they're saying to themselves, we're getting out of these markets. We don't want to own anything in places like Phoenix, Dallas, and Atlanta going forward. Now, folks, I have a theory for why Zillow is exiting some of these markets so fast, places like Phoenix, Atlanta, and Dallas. And that's because I believe Zillow does not want to be caught in investor-driven markets for much longer. These markets in the Sun Belt have a very high share of homes purchased not by fundamental end user households that are going to live in the home, but by investors who are buying the house for speculation, investment, maybe cash flow. In the short term, a high share of investor demand can really stimulate a housing market upwards, provide a lot of demand. The trouble is these investors can exit the housing market at any time. And in a place like Phoenix or Atlanta, these markets are really exposed to investors all of a sudden saying, hey, wait a minute, prices are too high. We're going to sell out. In fact, that's exactly what Zillow is doing right now. They were an investor in these markets and they're getting out fast. So folks, on this channel for about 5 months, 6 months, I've been telling you that the US housing market is in a bubble and it's going to crash. And since then, inventory across the country has gone up by 25%. Median sales prices declined for 3 months in a row across the nation, and certain markets are already experiencing value declines. But folks, you don't need to just take my word for it anymore. The mainstream is acknowledging it too. The fact that Zillow, the largest real estate company in America, is getting out of all their properties right now in the fall of 2021 is a definite sign that something is up in the US housing market. And so folks, if you're someone who's still on the camp of, we're not in a housing bubble, this is all supported, I don't know what to tell you anymore. Home prices are at all-time high relative to inflation. Price growth is at all-time highs. Meanwhile, you have the biggest real estate company in America fire selling all of their product, and you have Bank of America suggesting that it's because demand is going to decline more into the future. I mean, what more do you need at this point to finally wake up?
Honestly, I need some more hard evidence. I need to actually see these homes being sold for under what they were actually purchased for. Because again, listing them is completely different than what the home is actually sold at. And until that happens, and not only happens on like 238 houses that Zillow is reselling, it has to happen across millions and millions of homes for actually to be considered a crash. Keep in mind, the last time there was a housing crash, that was with millions of homes, not 238. If it was only 238, it would not have been called a crash, right? So let's say all these 238 homes that Zillow do sell below the market. That's just a small fraction of the millions of homes that are being sold across the US that are still gonna go above asking price, that are still gonna go up in value throughout time.
to the reality that we're in a big housing bubble. The crash has already started, and it's going to get a lot worse over the next 3, 6, 9, and 12 months.
Overall, I think the video was good. It had some good content, but there was a lot of speculations and theories and things like that from someone who I really don't know, and he's not as relevant as some of the other bigger companies who do the same kind of data research and who are saying the opposite. The biggest takeaways for me, for you guys, is one, until these homes actually get sold, what Zillow is listing at 238 or 200 and some homes they're selling doesn't really mean anything, because again, right now there's a bidding war. The second takeaway is keep in mind too that all these homes are going to get appraised, so it doesn't matter what the value is set online until it actually gets appraised and people see what the home inside and outside the foundation looks like. That's not going to really tell us what the real value is until that happens. And the last one is you're going to see a lot of videos. For every one video, I bet that you can find on YouTube or on the Google, you can find another article or video that says the opposite, right? So always keep that in mind. Do your research. And again, it's a small fraction, not millions of homes that Zillow is selling, that they're putting down below what the actual purchase price was. Thank you guys.